Hello, my name's Ian Sharpley. I would like to thank you for stopping by my brand new YouTube channel. Here on this channel, I'm going to be doing speed paintings. I'm going to do screen captures. What a speed painting is, for some of you that might not know, is a screen capture recording of my computer while I'm drawing, and I speed it up because it would be incredibly boring if you had to sit and hang over my shoulder essentially for the 4 hours that it took me to draw this picture. I'm going to speed it up for you. Don't worry, it's going to be a nice crisp half hour. We're not going to take up your whole day with this nonsense. So again, I appreciate you hanging in there with me. This is going to be the second one that I'm doing, so I'm kind of bumping around and figuring out how I'm going to do this and what the best way is for me to do this. Today I'm going to be doing the commentary over top of a painting that I did this past week. I drew Le'Veon Bell from the Pittsburgh Steelers in honor of our playoff push. Last weekend, the Steelers played in the divisional round of the playoffs. It was the second playoff game that they had this year. They defeated the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead 18-16 in a, I don't know if thrilling is the right word for the game. I watched it twice, and I don't know how thrilled I was. It was great. I love that we won. It made me happy. But football is generally about the joy that you get out of scoring touchdowns or the big defensive stops. And there were a lot of defensive stops and great defensive play by the Steelers, don't get me wrong. But there's something that's not super joyful when you're watching a game and all they do is kick field goals. And it was great. I love our kicker, Chris Boswell. Thank God. Thank God that he's such a solid kicker. 6 field goals, broke an NFL record, and did all the scoring, did all the work. And it's not like a lot of those field goals were close field goals at all. He hit a couple 50-plus field goals. There's a lot of pressure. Arrowhead is loud. It was cold. They moved the game back from 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night because of the weather conditions, so I can't imagine that the field was awesome. Fields generally, after an entire season of playing professional football on them, the fields usually are pretty crappy. We would know here in Pittsburgh because our fields are essentially sand. We have 2 teams that play on the Heinz Field turf, and also we usually have the high school football championships that happen at Heinz Field. So by the time that the Steelers are playing playoff games, which thankfully, because we're spoiled here in Pittsburgh, and we get to see our team go to the playoffs every single year almost. By the time that the Steelers are playing their home games in the playoffs, the field is like quicksand. So props to Chris Boswell for kicking those 6 field goals, doing all the heavy lifting, doing all the scoring for the Steelers, and getting us into the next round of the playoffs where we will go and face off against the New England Patriots, the notorious, infamous New England Patriots. What can I say about that lovely, lovely franchise? They're a great franchise, to be honest. Robert Kraft has taken that franchise and turned it from a laughingstock back in the late 80s, early 90s into pretty much the crown jewel of the NFL. I mean, I can't sit here. I hate that team. I hate them. I hate Tom Brady. I hate Edelman and all their little shitty, stupid runt wide receivers. I hate LeGarrette Blount. I hate their defense. I hate Bill Belichick and his stupid hoodie with the sleeves cut off, even though it's 3 degrees up in Boston. I hate them. They suck. But they don't suck. They're a great franchise. They will be setting a NFL record for 6 consecutive AFC championship games. I'm sure that it's probably just championship games. I'm not looking at the internet right now, but I'm assuming that it's not just AFC championship games. It's either division or either conference, AFC or NFC that they're setting the record for. And that's amazing. 6 times to get your team into the championship game to play for the right to go to the Super Bowl. It's astounding that they can do that. And the Patriots have a lot of turnover on their roster. Brady and Belichick, those are the constant, and Robert Kraft are the constants, and everybody else is expendable, disposable. They don't fall in love with any of their players. They fall in like with them. They like them a whole lot, but Bill Belichick is a genius, and he can see right before a player completely falls off the edge and isn't going to be worth the contract or isn't going to be the same player anymore. And he'll get rid of really key cogs to the team and flawlessly replace them with other things, even whenever their big stars just happen to go down. Rob Gronkowski is not going to be available for this game. Thank God. Because if there's anything that has historically murdered the Steelers, it is a big, fast, dynamic tight end. I remember for years and years and years in the 90s and early 2000s, any team that had any kind of quality tight end, I don't know if it's because I was emotionally scarred from watching the 1994 AFC Championship game and the San Diego Chargers tight end Alfred Papunu just streaking down the sidelines, burning the living crap out of Tim McKyer and scoring. I think he scored 2 touchdowns in that game, or had 2 big long catches that ended up. I know he at least had one because he had this dance where I think Papunu was Samoan or Hawaiian, of Hawaiian descent, and he did this dance where he would take the football after he scored and cut the top off like it was a coconut and drink it, which is pretty awesome. I miss the old 90s celebrations. It really stinks that the NFL has cracked down where a man can't even twerk in the end zone anymore without getting a flag. Back in the 90s, you can cut the top off a football and drink it, and nobody was the wiser. But back to the Steelers. Achilles heel of just getting burned. I mean, terrible teams. Bad teams like the Browns would have good tight ends that would burn us. The Ravens, before they got their shit together, had a couple of tight ends that would torch the Steelers and their safeties. And it only honestly stopped whenever the Steelers traded up in the 2003 draft and drafted Troy Polamalu, and he put an end to all that. Tight ends completely destroying the Steelers' business, but alas, Polamalu has been retired for a couple years now, and we do have some players out there. Mike Mitchell is out there to headhunt and dislodge the ball, but more often than not, Mike Mitchell, bless his heart, usually ends up spearing his own players and hurting them. So those tight ends are free to run around. So getting back to the Patriots, Rob Gronkowski, thank God he's going to be out. It looks like Martellus Bennett, the Patriots' other tight end, is going to be injured, or he's going to play. But I watched the Texans-Patriots game on Saturday night, and it looked like Martellus Bennett had gotten injured and had to come off the field a few times. He didn't really look like the same player. He's a pretty dominant player, and he's perfect for the 2 tight end system that Belichick wants to use. Ever since Randy Moss left, they completely went away, reimagined their offense, and have gone with a different scheme. And it's funny that it doesn't look like any other NFL team has really kind of copied that. The 2 tight end kind of dominate the middle of the field kind of thing. Instead of stretching it vertically, they stretch it horizontally, and they take advantage of that also with the aforementioned runt wide receivers that I think are all pretty shitty. Amendola, Edelman, whoever else they have that sucks, that I hate, that I can't remember right now. I feel like they have a whole bunch of just those little scrappy, not actually talented wide receivers. I have no respect for them. I don't care. I don't care how many Super Bowls they've won. I have no respect for them. Now, Tom Brady, yes. Yes, he's probably the best quarterback in the NFL of all time. I I've watched I was young and I watched Joe Montana play and I watched Dan Marino play and I watched John Elway and then I'm more familiar with all the current day quarterbacks like Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger, those type of quarterbacks. Eli, the great Eli Manning. Brett Favre was always really great. Rich Gannon had a real hot streak for about 3 or 4 years. Kurt Warner, man, I love Kurt Warner. He was quality, and also I guess only he had some hot streaks too, but he had a hot beginning of his career and then a hot end of his career. I don't know if that makes him one of the great quarterbacks of all time, but I always respected that dude. Tom Brady, he's probably the best. He really is. It takes a lot to get to as many Super Bowls as he's gotten to and to win as many as he did. Granted, he probably should have one less ring since I think we all can agree that the Seattle Seahawks, if they would have just run the ball at the end of the Super Bowl, that they were up against the Patriots, everything would have been right in the world. They would have just punched it in, knocked Brady out for it. I guess it would have been his third Super Bowl loss at that point. And we all could have went home happy. Everybody could have been happy, but instead they got cute and threw the ball on the half-inch line directly into Malcolm Butler's stomach. And oh my God. The Steelers have lost some doozies in the years. When I was talking before, that 1994 game against the San Diego Chargers, that playoff loss hurt me for years. I don't think I ever really got it. Maybe when we won our second Super Bowl with this current roster in 2008. Maybe I got over it around then. I think I made peace with it. But for the longest time, that 94 AFC Championship game really taught me a lesson about being a sports fan, being too cocky, being too sure that your team was going to win and everything was going to be great. There was no way that we could see that coming. But there have been other really bad losses. We lost to the Patriots in 2001. That playoff game hurt because it was when the Patriots were not the juggernaut and championship level team that we all know them to be. They were sort of like an upstart with a second year quarterback that nobody really believed in at that time. The loss in 2004 to the Patriots also hurt pretty badly. More recently, the Steelers lost to the Ravens in the playoffs. They just got smoked by the Ravens in the playoffs, and that's some hated rival kind of stuff. But I can't imagine what the fans in Seattle, when they were on the doorstep of winning their second Super Bowl back-to-back against the best team for the past 15 years in the NFL and knocking them out. And right before on the drive that the go-ahead touchdown potential drive, there was some like wacko catch by Jerome Kearse, one of the Seahawks wide receivers. A ball like bounced off his ass and he caught it with his eyelid or something like that. And that was great. I love that. I love seeing the Patriots suffer those kinds of weird bounces against the New York Giants whenever they were the Patriots were looking for a perfect season and they had Eli and the Giants, they're back against the wall. Eli threw some horse shit down the middle of the field late. There were 5 or 6 defenders trying to claw at the receiver, David Tyree, who caught this impossibly high ball, brought it down, pinned it against his helmet, with 3 guys on him. First down, a couple plays later, Eli throws the go-ahead touchdown to defeat the Patriots, destroy their perfect season. I wish the way that, if there was a God, the way that this would have went is after that, the Patriots would have never been the same. Losing seasons would have just piled on top of them. Tom Brady would have retired. Bill Belichick would be fired. And the Patriots would go back to being shitty losers, just like I would like them to be. But unfortunately, that's not how it went. They won like 2 Super Bowls after that or something. So we'll see what happens with this upcoming game on Sunday. It's going to be tough because the Patriots are the Steelers' kryptonite. I really think that the Patriots can get into the Steelers' heads, even if the Patriots don't have a better team than the Steelers necessarily. I still feel like they're going to be able to out-scheme and outthink the Steelers. Not that the Steelers aren't. The Steelers are great. They have a lot of... They have great coaching, I think. A lot of people really pile on Tomlin and get on his shit, and I have a lot of theories why that could possibly be. But I think that Tomlin is a high-quality coach. If I don't know, a lot of people talk about, you got to get rid of Tomlin, he's a player's coach, blah, 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 blah. Well, so is Bill Cowher. I mean, come on, let's get real. And we loved Cowher for 15 years, and it's also a different era. Tomlin is a little bit younger than, or maybe I guess he was close to the same age as Cowher was when he took over, but I think that Tomlin has proven that he has a more skilled eye at drafting players and selecting players and developing players. Antonio Brown was a 6th-round draft choice, and he has become, credit to Antonio Brown, but also I think credit to the Steelers coaching staff for taking a player that they drafted in the 6th round and molding him into the best receiver in the entire NFL. In that same draft, they took Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders was a quality player for the Steelers, moved on to the Denver Broncos, and went to a few Pro Bowls, won a Super Bowl last year. I mean, that's great drafting by the Steelers staff, and Tomlin has to get some credit for that. He has taken a team, and it's gone through a few different fluctuations. I think it was a little more defensive for a lot of the years that he had it. He saw that the way that the league was changing and shifting, it's all offense, and he became aggressive and got the types of players in place that can win in today's NFL. Le'Veon Bell, Brown, some of the other wide receivers that they've picked up throughout the years. He rebuilt the offensive line. When he took over, it was one of the worst. And for a long time, it was one of the worst. And he put a priority on drafting offensive linemen like DeCastro and Pouncey and promoting some other ones, finding hidden gems like Villanueva. And it's now one of the best. It's definitely one of the greatest run blocking lines. If you looked at the Kansas City game this past weekend, you could see how the offensive linemen were getting off their blocks on the first level and getting up to the second and third level where the linebackers and the safeties and corners were. And Pouncey was making blocks on cornerbacks and blocks on safeties. It was pretty amazing stuff. So I'm going to move a little bit back into breaking down the actual speed painting that I'm doing here. And at this point, I've moved on to some of the real heavy outline portion of the illustration where I'm really tightening everything up. I generally do a few different passes with the pink highlights that you saw with a pink marker tool. I go through and I usually do about 3 or 4 different passes over just to quickly pass over and get some of the lines a little bit more crisp and clear and tight. Then the next thing that I do is usually I put on another blue layer, but I think that I was happy with how my progress was going here, so I just slapped on the dark purple layer and started working that and getting some of the lines nice and tight here. And there are a variety of different pens that I use. There are a bunch of different set widths so that I can just jump to, if I know that I need a real fine line, I can go in there with it. If I know that I need a big, thick, bold line, I can do that. The most important tool that I use has sort of a tapered edge where and my pen that I use is pressure sensitive. And what that means is that the harder that I push down, the thicker the line gets, so that it reacts like a analog or a pen that is that behaves like a normal pen that you would use in real life. So I use the tapered edge ink pen. I don't really know what it's called. It's the one that I'm using. I think right here you'll be able to see me using it, where I'm kind of going over and making some dynamic lines that are a little thicker, a little thinner, and all that work's done with how much pressure I'm applying to my stylus as I'm drawing it out. And at this point, I've knocked back the pink lines, and I'm going into the blue line and just going over this. Now, I think on this illustration, if I'm not mistaken, the blue line that I ended up doing, I decided halfway through that I like the look of these blue outlines, where normally you would use, in a normal cartoon or comic strip, you would use thick black lines for the outlines and illustration lines. For this, I decided that I liked the look of the blue line mainly because the way that the Steelers uniforms are especially in this drawing, it's black on black. A lot of the detail that I put into this drawing will be lost if I didn't differentiate the outline from the actual black. One way to cheat that, sometimes I will do a really, really dark gray as the color, but I didn't want to do that here. I've been kind of working around and testing out some different things and to see what I can do. And I really wanted the true black of the Steelers uniforms because I think that the gray would just make it look washed out and weird. So that was some executive decisions that I made there with the blue lines as well as the black fill that I'm doing. So what I'm doing here is I'm coloring everything in, and mostly what I do when I'm coloring is that I will select I'll take a area selection tool, and it'll allow me to draw around a certain area, and I can fill that area with whatever color that I choose. And it's the fastest way for me to be able to do this color work is to just basically highlight an area. You can see a dotted line. If I would slow it down, you could see the dotted line a little more clearly. But I highlight the area, I fill it in with a solid or a solid color. Sometimes they're referred to as flats. In the comic industry, it's generally the work that a colorist would do where you're just putting flat color in is flats work. And some illustrators have colorists that all they do, their entire job is just doing flats. And they just go through the artist's work, they put the flats in, and they send the files back to the artist for them to finish up and do other different kind of work. What I'm doing here is you could see that I'm sort of changing the color of the outline of I was doing the color of the outline of the pants, and what that does is it just kind of it just gives it a different feel. All right, so now I'm going to get back into the upcoming AFC Championship game. that's going down this coming Sunday night. So they have to wait all day long and be nervous all day long waiting for the Steelers to face off against the New England Patriots. Right now, the Vegas line, the spread, for those that aren't initiated, the spread is Vegas determining how much they think or estimate or guess that a team will win by. The line right now, the Patriots are getting 4, which means that they think that the Patriots will win by 4 or more points. Generally, for a Vegas line, the home team automatically receives 3 points. It's sort of like the home field advantage for you. And the fact that the Patriots' last game was like 17 points or something like that, and they covered, I believe. They covered, which means that if you took the Patriots, you would, and they won more, so you would have won. They won their game by more than 17 points. So that's because the Houston Texans are a god-awful team. They have a great defense. Their defense played out of their minds, but their quarterback is Brock Osweiler, and he is a bum. Their running back is Lamar Miller, and he never was any good. I don't know why they signed him for such high money, but he also sucks. Their wide receivers, they have DeAndre Hopkins, who a lot of people like. He's a great fantasy player, but guess what? He sucks too. So the Texans' offense all around was terrible and never really had a chance to do anything against the Patriots. Even though the score at halftime was 14-13, I think that's more of a damnation on the mistakes that the Patriots made and how stale their offense was at the beginning of the game. Unfortunately for the Steelers, the Patriots will not be rusty or stale come Sunday. I believe that they'll be at their tip-top shape and they will be hot coming out of the gate. Those wide receivers that I made fun of for probably 10 minutes at the beginning of this episode, yeah, they're actually pretty good. And the Steelers' defensive backs are going to have trouble containing Edelman. Chris Hogan, I think, is the guy that I was trying to think of, the other wide receiver. They're all the same dude, by the way. They all run the same speed. They all run the same routes. I don't know how any of them ever get open, but they will, because I do know how they get open, because they're smart and they're crafty and they study hard and they do run great routes. And hopefully the Steelers' defensive backs, it's a young secondary. Hopefully they'll be able to at least run with these guys, if not outthink them. On the second level of the Steelers' defense, our linebackers are pretty great. You've got, in the middle, you've got Lawrence Timmons, who has had a fantastic season, multiple Pro Bowls. I think that this is a contract year for him. This might be the last time that he takes the field as a Steeler if they do not win. So I think he has a lot on the line, and he's played for a decade plus as the leader of that defense and has been great. Side by side with him is Ryan Shazier, super talented, sort of plays like a Troy Polamalu-ish role where he gets to rove around the defense and sort of call his own plays and just run out there and make plays and hit people. He's quick. He's one of the fastest linebackers in the league. The only problem with him is he's super fragile, but if he's made it this far, I think he'll be able to stay together for one playoff game. Bud Dupree has been a game changer. He's taken the Steeler defense, which really didn't have a lot of sacks or pressure at the beginning of the season. He came back, I think it was week 11 or somewhere around there, and he's completely transformed the defense with how explosive and quick he is off the edge. He had a quarterback pressure where he knocked Alex Smith's arm up in the air, which resulted in an interception. He had a sack against the Miami Dolphins, I believe, and also a big hit on Matt Moore, which he got fined for, but you need some of that toughness, I think. You can't make stupid plays, but I think you have to have tough plays. and Bud Dupree is a game changer. And then we come to James Harrison on that second line of the defense. Outside linebacker, just beats the shit out of Father Time. He's 38 years old, 39 years old, somewhere up there. And he just keeps making plays. He had a sack. He also forced the holding call on the 2-point conversion and has been a leader of the Steelers defense. I don't know how much longer he can go. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it next season like this, but I'll take a season just like this right now. And on the defensive line, Stephon Tuitt can bring the pressure from the middle of the field, and I think that's where the important part of beating the Patriots is, because Tom Brady has a lightning quick release. That's probably his best attribute, is that he's so fast in getting the ball out of his hands, is that you can almost, much like Peyton Manning, you could almost never sack him because he got the ball out so quick. The only way to pressure a quarterback like that is to bring those blitzes or get pressure from your defensive line straight in his face and bother him that way. I think the Steelers have the personnel with Shazier, Timmons, and Tuitt to be able to bring that heat right in his face, get that pressure, and bother him. And on the flip side of the ball, the Steelers' offense is great. Ben's been a little shaky for the past 2 games, but I have full confidence that he'll be able to get everything in line. Le'Veon Bell, what can I say about Le'Veon Bell? He's broken the Steelers' rushing record in the playoffs 2 weekends in a row. I don't know if he's going to break it again, but I would say that he's going to play heavily into the Steelers' game plan. Antonio Brown, stupid stuff on Facebook. You can't be broadcasting things on Facebook Live after the game, dude. But he is the best wide receiver out there in the land. Some of our secondary players, Jesse James has really stepped up and looked awesome. Ayers has looked great. Eli Rogers has filled in. It's a game like this that I really miss Martavis Bryant, and I wish he could stop smoking so much weed, or at least that we as America can get our head out of our butts and legalize that so that it's not a big deal, because it isn't a big deal. But it would be great if we could have Martavis Bryant for this game to really break things open. We're not going to have him, but we do have enough weapons. Ladarius Green, the tight end that Jesse James is filling in for, he's a game breaker. If they can get him out there, then hopefully we'll be able to do some damage. I don't think that I can make a... I don't think I can feel comfortable making a prediction for the game. I really want the Steelers to win, as you have learned from listening to me. But I'm a very superstitious person. This past week, I went down into my basement to pick out the perfect Steeler jersey for me to wear as I sat on my couch. I'm a jersey enthusiast, I guess you would say. So I have upwards of 8 or 9 Steeler jerseys that I could pick from. Probably more, actually. I'll have to count. But I have a lot of different Steeler jerseys with a lot of memories. And I went for my probably most sentimental Steeler jersey, my Yancey Thigpen block letter 1995 Steeler jersey. And I picked it off the rack, and I went to go upstairs with it, and we were having chili that night. And I thought to myself, I'm going to get chili all over the place on this white jersey. And I turned around to put the jersey back on the hook, and I slipped, and I fell. Hardcore fell, peeled out, like falling and I can't get up, fell down on the ground, hurt my knee, hurt my back. And what did I think whenever I fell down? I thought, this is a sign from God. I have to wear this Steeler jersey now. I took it up, I put it on, we won. So hopefully I'll get another sign and fall down in my basement this week, and we'll be victorious over the Patriots. Thank you for checking out my speed painting of Le'Veon Bell. I greatly appreciate you guys stopping by. I'm actually selling this, a print of this drawing. If you're interested, if you liked how this drawing came out and you want to have it and hold it and frame it and put it in your on top of your mantle to remember this YouTube video buy, you can go to my Etsy page. I have an Etsy page with not just this stuff, but other things. You can request things from me as well. If you go to etsy.com/shop/Ian Sharpley, you can see some of the work that I have up there. I'm just starting my Etsy page. I'm slowly putting things on piece by piece, but you can see things there. If you'd like to talk to me, I know you want to talk to me. I'm super, super fun to talk to. You can hit me up on Twitter at The Sauce, TheSoss. That's at The Sauce on Twitter. And if you'd like to see more of my work, I'm also on Instagram. Just go to at Ian Sharpley on Instagram, and you can see the things that I post. I post a lot of process drawings just like this. I also post comic strips and things that I do for McSauce. So check that out, and check out the webcomic that Paul McGinty and myself do, McSauce.com, MCSOSS.com. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and here we go, Steelers.